What's up everybody, welcome back. So in the previous video, which was more of a documentary than a tutorial, well over 2 hours, and that's a huge record for the channel, but never mind that. We managed to set up our dual wielding, but there's a few things that we need to take care of. So the left weapon does not play any blend spaces, and the walking animation isn't playing most of the times, so that's what we need to look at. We still have the slide animation that's playing for both weapons if we fire the right weapon. And we're also going to take a look at reloading, because right now we don't have any animations and things like that. So we're going to smooth everything out a little bit, apply a few fixes, and just make everything look a little bit better. So let's get into it. So let's start by applying a few fixes of things that I forgot in the previous video. So let's dive into our first person character, and if we go into the setup weapon animations left function, over here for the walking timeline, this timeline is the wrong one, so we need to make sure that we connect up the walking timeline to the set length node, and that should fix the problem of the walking animation not playing correctly. So that's done over here. And the next thing we need to do is dive into our animation blueprint, because I actually forgot quite a big thing in here. So if we dive into the animation graph, over here we have the branch for the dual wielding, and the top row of this is for the right hand, and this is using our IK hand gun bone. And for the lower part we were supposed to use the IK foot bone, but we didn't change that. So everywhere in the lower row where it says IK hand gun, we need to replace it with the IK foot root. And over here for the copy bone node, we need to make sure that our target bone is set to foot left. So for the other transform modify bone nodes, we need to set the IK foot root instead of the IK hand gun. So make sure you update all of them. And there's quite a few of them, so it takes a bit. So that should be good to go. And at the end we have the 2-bone IK node, and over here we want to make sure that we select the foot left again, so IK foot left instead of the IK hand left. So we have this chain updated now as well. And the last thing we need to do to fix our blend spaces is fix my mistake with the variables over here. So I created them twice, one with left at the end and one with L at the end. And in the animation graph I'm using the one with the L, and in the update function I'm using the ones with left. So this is why the blend space is not playing. So over here we're simply going to replace them with the _L ones. So the blend space direction translation, the rotation, and we need to do the same over here for the turn rotation and the look up rotation. And after we did that, we can get rid of the _left variables, because we don't actually use them anymore. And right now our blend spaces should be fixed, and the walking animation should play as well. So let's have a look. Dual wield, and now we have blend spaces on both weapons, and the walking animation is also playing on both weapons. Animations still work, so that's nice. So we have the actual fixes out of the way. Now let's start by improving a little bit, and we're going to fix the weapon slide animations. To fix the issue with the weapon slides, first we need to go in our first person character, and we're going to duplicate our weapon slide transformation and make sure that we have a left variable for that as well. Now let's go to our fire weapon event for the left weapon, and in here we're going to use that new variable. So we're going to do the same thing that we did in the normal fire animation. Before the delay we're going to apply our slide translation from the data table, and after the delay we're going to set it back to 0. Only this time we're going to use our new variable for the left hand. So plug that in over here and make sure that you connect it up before and after your fire delay. And make sure that it's using the current weapon slide translation left. So we have separate values for left and right everywhere. So we can compile and save this, and now we're going to change the animation blueprint for our actual weapon. So that's the pistol in this case. And we're going to change this quite a bit, to be honest. So first of all, let's go to the functions, override, and we're going to get the initialize animation. So over here, we're going to cast our first person character, so we don't have to do it in every update. So drag this over here and make sure that we promote this to a variable. And that's our character. And we're going to drag it in over here, make sure that it's valid. And if it's valid, then we're going to get the variables from here. So then we need to create a second vector over here, and that's going to be our target rotation, translation. And then we're going to disconnect this over here, so not over here. Plug in the target rotation into the target for the interp, and then move this over a little bit. So the last thing we need is a boolean, and that's is left weapon. And we're going to add a branch in here, check if we're left or the right weapon. And depending on that, we're going to get the right information. So we're going to set our target translation in here for the true and the false pin. And false means we are the right weapon, so we're going to get the normal weapon slide translation, and for the other one we're going to get the left one, so weapon animation slide translation left. And plug that in over here. Connect these ones back up. So this should be good to go, and now all we need to do is make sure that we define if we are the left weapon somehow, and I would prefer to do it without casting, so I'm gonna go over here to my owning component, and that's the actual weapon, and we're gonna get our attached socket name. So we're gonna see what we are attached to, get attached socket name, and from here we can simply add a switch on name. And if we are attached to our left weapon socket, then we are the left weapon, obviously. So over here, that's how we are going to define it. So our weapon grip left. If that's true, then we are the left weapon. And in all other cases, we are probably the right weapon. So set it up like this. And now this should work. So now I think we should have a left and a right slide animation. So let's check it out. So the normal one is still working, dual wielding, and this time we have separate animations for the left and the right slide. So we got that out of the way. Now let's take a look at fixing up our shotgun as well. So I have created two base poses for the shotgun dual wield, and I'm gonna set it up so I can dual wield the shotgun as well. So I need to go in my weapon animations table and actually assign the pose animations. So shotgun dual right and shotgun dual left. And then I also need to go into my animation blueprint and make sure that I enter the animations in the animation graph. So over here it's already in here, but for the dual wield ones I need to add them. So I'm gonna drag in the left and right pose animations. And now we can also dual wield our shotgun. But we need to take a look at the rechambering because we have the slide moving. So I need to add it to the inventory. Just a second. So in event begin play, I'm gonna add a third weapon, and that's going to be my shotgun. So I'm gonna keep the rifle at 2, put the shotgun in 1, and make sure that I also increase my weapon inventory size. There we go. So for the shotgun we have a rechamber animation going on, and that's also moving the left hand. And right now if we dual wield our shotgun, we have the same issue that we had before with the slide. So we need to make sure that it either moves on the correct weapon or it doesn't move at all, depending on what you want. So we're gonna fix this. For the left hand that's actually not too bad, because we can simply leave that out of the animation graph. So we have the dual wield branch over here, and if we are dual wielding we simply do not want to animate the other hand, so we're gonna leave out this left hand translation completely for dual wielding. And to fix the slide on the weapon we can do the same thing as we did for our pistol, so we can simply go into the shotgun animation blueprint, but we need to go into our character first. So open up your character, and for this we need the weapon animation hand translation. So we're going to duplicate this and create a left variant. And then if we go to our fire weapon event, so in the normal fire weapon event we set it when rechambering the normal hand slide translation. So we're going to do the same thing for the left hand over here. Drag in the hand translation. And before the delay, we're going to set it to our current weapon slide translation for the left hand, for the left side. And after that, we simply set it back to 0. So now all we need to do is make sure that our animation blueprint grabs the right variable. So first we're going to set this up with the event initialize again. So grab this stuff and put it down here. Promote this to a variable, and that's our character. Make sure that the character is valid. And then we also need a target translation in here. And we need an isLeftWeapon boolean. So then we can set this up the same way. So we're adding a branch in here. If we are the left weapon, we want to get the left hand translation. And we're going to store that in our target translation. So get to setters. Make sure we have enough room in here. So we can connect this up for the right hand. And plug it in the character. And make sure that we get our left hand translation on the other side. So left hand. Weapon animation hand translation left. So that's the one we need. Plug it in here. Connect this back up. And over here we should be good to go. So now we need to get the socket name. So get attach socket name from our owning component. And we're gonna get the switch on name to make sure that we can set the correct left hand variable. So weapon grip underscore left. And if that's the case, we are the left weapon. So that should fix our issue. So dual wield and grab the shotgun on both hands. And now it's not rechambering at all. Okay. Because I didn't plug in the target rotation in the interp node, so make sure that you plug this in over here. And let's check it out again. So now we have separate rechamber animations, And you can choose whether you want to do this when dual wielding or not. So it looks a bit weird, obviously, a magical rechambering shotgun, but that's up to you. At least it's working the way it should. So the next thing we're gonna do is dive into the trigger fingers. So to get our trigger fingers animated again, let's start in the first person character. So for the normal function, we have the play finger animation, and we're setting the finger animation rotation. So we're simply going to duplicate this again for the left side. So duplicate the variable, and then we're going to go to our left hand fire event. And we want to create a custom event for this. So custom event, play finger animation left. And we're gonna call this before our fire delay, so make sure that we add the call in here as well, play finger animation left. And then we're gonna set our finger rotation, and over here we set it to -20 on the z-axis. So in this case we want to set it to 20 on the z-axis to make sure it rotates the correct way. And then we are simply going to add a small delay and put it back to 0. And make sure that we do that to the correct variable, so the left one. So we have it set up in our character. There we go. And now we need to get to our animation blueprint to get everything set up here. So we do not need left hand translation over here, and we remove the finger rotations from the dual wield branch. So we're going to add them back in, and we can do it right before the 2-bone IK nodes, that's fine. So get the finger rotation and plug one of them in here. Make sure that the top one is set to the index finger right, and you use the normal finger rotation. And then we're going to plug in the second one in the bottom row. So for this we need to duplicate our finger rotation and make sure that we have a left variable and plug it in here. And then we're going to change the bone name to the index finger left over here. And that should do it. Now all we need to do is go to our event graph, and over here we're going to add the left trigger finger. So let's duplicate the stuff for the right one. And I'm going to put it right behind the recoil. So make sure that you plug in both branches if you do that. And then we are going to set our left finger rotation from the left finger rotation. And I'm simply going to drag in my character here and get the left finger rotation. And plug that in the target. Get rid of this one. And make sure that we get the delta time in here as well. So that should fix the fingers. And now all I'm going to do in here is add a little branch. So all of the stuff on the right side here is for my left hand. So I only need to do that if we are actually dual wielding. So I'm going to add a little branch in here. Only connect the true pin and plug in my dual wield boolean. So a tiny bit of optimization here, it's not much, but whatever. So let's check out our trigger fingers. So we have the right trigger finger moving again, and if we switch in dual wield, we also have both trigger fingers working. So that's done as well. There is a small fix I want to do to projectile shotguns, so let's do that next. So for this fix we need to get in our first person character again and open up our fire projectile function. So if we look at this, we did set up the penetration for the normal branch, but we didn't take care of penetration in the shotgun branch, so we're gonna do that. And that's not too bad, so just create a little bit of room in here. And we can simply copy this cast to the top branch and make sure that you plug everything in. And now all we need to do is also set the local bullet penetration for the shotgun branch. So we're simply going to copy this over here. And then we can paste it in at the top. So that we have the correct bullet penetration for the left or the right hand setup as well. And that should fix the penetration issues with the shotgun. So that was a quick one. And now the last thing I want to take a look at is reloading. So we are not playing any animations, and I want to lower the weapon when we reload, and when we're done we're gonna raise it again. So let's do that. To set up our weapon reloads, first we're gonna add a reload time to our weapon information. So let's go to the weapon info structure, and we're gonna add a new variable in here, and this is our reload time. And that's a float. So save it and close it down. Then open up your weapon info data table and make sure that you actually put in some values in here. So I'm going to put the pistol at 1.5 seconds, and for the shotgun 3 seconds, and for the rifle 2 seconds. And save it and close it down. Now go back into your first person character, and we're going to create those variables as well. So create a current weapon reload time, which is a float, and also create one for the left hand weapon. So current weapon reload time left. And then we need to dive into the setup weapon functions to connect them up to our data table. So drag in the reload time for the normal setup weapon function, and connect it up at the end of the branch. And for the setup weapon left, we're gonna connect up our reload time left, and also make sure that it's connected properly. So now we have some variables to work with. First let's make a few small changes to some existing stuff. So I'm gonna add a reset animation timeline variable. So that's a boolean. Reset animation. No, there we go. Timeline. And also create one for the left hand side. And we're going to use it to define if we want to reset the animation that we are playing. So right now, if the animation is done, we are setting the transforms back to 0, and we're restarting our walking and idle tracks. But if we lower the weapon, we want to make sure that it stays off screen until we tell it not to. And if we do not update the final animation frames, then it will stay out of screen. So that's what we're going to do in here. And to achieve that, first we're going to open up our play curve animation function. And we're going to add a new input in here. And this is going to be our reset pose on finished. So reset pose on finished. And all we need to do in here is drag this over. And then we're going to drag in the booleans. So make sure that you connect the correct one to the correct branch. So left is the top branch and right is the bottom branch. And then we can simply set them to the value from the input node. So drag this over here and connect them up to both nodes. And then we're going to go back into our event graph, and for the animation timelines, we're going to create a little bit of room for the unfinished and add a branch in here. And we're only going to reset them if the branch is true. And this is the normal timeline, so get the normal one and do the same thing for the left timeline. So create a bit of room for unfinished, add a branch in here as well, and connect the true pin up and plug in your reset timeline left. So we have those set up, and Now we need to make sure that we update all of the existing calls to this function. So there's a few of them that we need to change, and I mark them in my notes. So if we go to our fire weapon events, we want to make sure that the fire animation is reset on finished. So enable it for the normal fire weapon event and for your left fire weapon event. Reset pose on finished. And we're going to do the same thing when we are switching weapons. So go to the switch weapon events. For the first play curve animation, we're not going to reset it. So just leave them the way it is. And at the end, when we are raising the weapon, we want to reset the pose on finished. So do both the switch weapon and switch weapon left event. And then for the last one, we need the toggle wield. The dual wield event, and at the beginning when we are lowering the weapons we do not want to reset the pose, but at the end when we are raising the weapons we do. So I'm just cleaning this up, but I do not actually change the values. And over here at the end of the branch we do want to change the values, so reset pose on finished and do the same thing over here. And that should be good to go. So the next thing we are going to do is create a few new functions for holstering our weapon. So get a little bit of empty room and create a custom event. The first one is going to be holster a weapon. And then we're gonna continue another custom event. And this is unholster weapon. And do the same thing for the left side. So custom event, holster weapon left. And an unholster weapon left as well. And now we can simply call the play curve animation function in here. And we want to play the lower animation for the right hand, so go to your current weapon and get your current weapon lower animation, plug it in here. So this will return a value and we want to make sure that we store that value. So we're going to create two new variables. And the first one is going to be my current weapon holster time. And also create one for the left hand, obviously, so holster time left. So if we call this holster function, we're going to set the variable automatically, so we don't have to worry about it. And then for the unholster weapon, we're going to copy and paste this and make sure that we play it in reverse. And when we're done, we're going to reset the pose. And for the left hand, let's do the same thing. So let's just get this node, play the curve animation, play the lower animation for the left hand, so current weapon lower left, and enable your left hand over here, and we want to store this in our holster time left. And then for unholstering, we are simply going to reverse the animation and make sure that we update the pose on finish or reset, sorry. So all three are set to true here, the middle one here, the top and the bottom one here, and none of them for the first one. So these are the holster and unholster events that we need. And now we need to split up our reload event so we can add some delays in here. So let's drag this over to where we have a little bit of room. And first I'm going to disconnect my input event and create a custom event over here. And this is going to be reload. And simply plug it back into the branch. Then I'm going to create a second custom event, and this is reload left. And for this we need to split up this function, so go over here, where we have the is dual wield branch, and we're gonna disconnect the entire branch and get rid of it. And the stuff that's on the right side, we're gonna move it over to the reload left event. Like so. So we can get rid of these reroute nodes and clean it up. For the input action, first we're gonna call we're gonna call a sequence, and then we're gonna call our reload event. And then let's add a branch in here, and if we are dual wielding, we're also gonna call the reload left event. So that's set up as well. And now we need to add the calls to the holster events in here. So after the branch, to make sure we can actually reload, for the right hand call the holster weapon function or event and connect it up here. And then we're gonna go to the back over here, and right before we update the ammo, we're gonna add a delay. And we're gonna wait for our reload time minus our holster time and plug it in the delay. And once that's done, we're gonna unholster the weapon. So unholster and connect up both branches of this branch. And do the same thing for the left hand. So over here, call our holster weapon left. And we're gonna add a delay right before we update the HUD in here. So this is probably not the best place. We should add it before here. So then the left and the right HUD actually update at the same time. So add a delay in here for the reload time left minus the holster time left. And plug this in here, and then unholster the weapon when that's done. So unholster left. And then we can move over the delay in here as well. Oh freaking. So those match up again. And now if we reload, we should lower the weapon until we are done. So that works in the normal setup. And now if we switch to dual wielding, I can reload, and at the same time I can switch my other weapon, for example. And something broke apparently, because everything crashes right now. I'm not sure if I'm still recording. Yes, I am. Okay, so that's cool. So Unreal is not responding right now, so I probably messed up something. I'm gonna get back to you guys. So there's two small fixes that I want to take a look at. First of all, in the weapons folder for the projectiles, we want to set an initial lifespan. And I think that what may have caused a bit of crashing. So we want to delete the projectiles if they shoot into the sky and things like that. So make sure you set a maximum lifespan, and I set it to something about 4 seconds. That should be fine. And we want to go into the player character, and for the for the fire bullet trace and for the fire projectile, we need to fix up this branch. So we want to check if this is a shotgun for the left and the right weapon. So we want to change this, and we're going to do this as following. So we're going to grab our local shotgun variable and our is left weapon variable. And we want to know if this is a shotgun, if this is not our left weapon, or if it's a shotgun on the right hand side. So we're going to put an AND in here, and then we're going to get an OR. And then we're going to get our current weapon is shotgun left. and the local is left weapon, and if both of those are true, then that's also good. And plug this into the other execution of the OR pin. It's not an execution, but whatever. Connect this back up to the branch, so if our right hand is a shotgun or our left hand is a shotgun, then we're gonna go into this branch, so that should fix it. And we should do the same thing for the fire projectile event, so we have the same kind of check in here, and we need to fix it up as well. So we didn't promote the left weapon to a variable, so let's just do it the way it is. Let's get an end node, and we can get it off here and plug it in, and then get an OR node. We need to make sure that we get a knot in between here, so if this is not our left weapon, and then get the current weapon is shotgun left, and make sure that we get an end node in here as well, and plug this one in here, plug it into the OR, and this into the condition. So that should fix the shotgun issues as well. So previously it would only fire shotgun spread if you would have the shotgun selected in your right hand, and that would also only work for the left shotgun. And now it works both ways, so it still fires spread even though I do not have a shotgun selected in my right hand. So I think we have the worst cases fixed. So another small issue that I encountered, if we were dual wielding a weapon and we go back to normal wielding, we cannot ADS anymore. So we need to go into our character, and in the event where we toggle the dual wield, in the top branch over here where we set dual wield back to false, we need to make sure that we plug in the correct pose animation. So we do not want to use the pose animation right in here, we want to use the normal pose animation, and only in the lower branch when we actually start dual wielding we want to use the pose animation right. And now that should fix the ADS issue as well, so let's double check. We can dual wield and go back to normal wielding, and now the ADS is working again, so that's fixed as well. So it looks like everything is working. We have reloading set up, we did a few fixes, we have the weapon slides, rechambering, so we have a pretty decent setup right now. There are still a few improvements to be made, but I'm not going to dive into that right now. So for now I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching everybody. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, and if you want to, you are welcome to join the GameDev Raw Discord. If you have any questions about a video, if you just want to show something off or something like that, join the Discord, and there's quite a lot of people in there already. So thanks for watching, talk to you later, bye bye.